about Man United. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Red Devils Disciples, where we're going to go through a bit of a roundup today. We're going to look at the January transfer window, see what's gone in, what's come in, what's gone out, just have a little bit of a summary. We're going to go have a look at transfer rumours at the same time. We'll talk a little bit about the squad, maybe some updates of what's happening at the moment, where we're at, some players returning from injury, which is great news, as well as, unfortunately, some players again on the injured list. And then we're also going to talk about a little bit about the club and just give an update on a few different things within the club itself. First of all, talking about transfers. Of course, we've got nothing, zilch. No one has come in. The only player that's actually come back is Charlie McNeil, who's just gone back into the reserves or the youth team. So it doesn't actually affect the first team. With regards to sales, first and foremost, we sent back Sergio Reguilón. We sent him back to Spurs. I think it's one of those things where he did his job for the time that he was here with us. He was basically brought in to be cover for Malacia and for Shaw. Shaw is already back in training, which is great news, which we'll talk a little bit about later. But also we've got Malacia, who's due to come back any point now, so he's covered that. As well as that, we've also got Diego Dalot, who can play at the left side, and weirdly Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who played at the left back against Spurs. So it's one of those situations where we just didn't need him, so we sent him back. That plus the lack of games, no Champions League, we're out of the League Cup, so the games have gone down. Not that the League Cup would affect it, because the League Cup finishes now, or soon, should I say. But it's one of those where he just wasn't needed. So in order to save money, the loan was terminated, it was sent back. He wasn't going to get any game time. Probably best for the player for him to go back. We've also got Mateo Mejia. I hope I said that right. Mateo Mejia has been sold to Sevilla for free, although it's not quite a simple free transfer. There is a contingency fee based fee, should I say, which means that there are certain targets that if he does hit and if he performs well, we'll get a fee from that. It's an undisclosed fee at the moment. I'll try to find that out for you, but I'm not too sure what it is. But there is a 25% sell-on clause in that deal at the moment. So if he was to be sold in the future because it performs really well for Sevilla, we will get 25% of that sale moving forward. I think this is potentially a good deal from us. If you think about it, Mejia's contract was set to expire at the end of the year, and we're not going to renew a player like that. He's not going to play for the first team. He's never going to break in. So it's a good deal for us, considering the circumstances. Then obviously we've got Danny van der Beek, who's gone on loan to Frankfurt, which, it's a loan with a buy option. I really hope for him he does well there. He deserves it. He's been someone who's been loyal to the club. He's been someone who's tried his hardest. He's been someone who always speaks very positively about everything. The deal itself involves majority of the wages being covered by Frankfurt themselves, but with a very minimal fee coming in for his services, which is fine. At the end of the day, he's just sitting there not actually playing for us. So given the opportunity, let him try and rebuild his career somewhere else. He deserves it. He seems like a real stand-up guy that, let's be honest, as fans, we all loved him for his personality, but he just really hasn't delivered on the pitch. And injuries have obviously played a massive part in that, and we wish him all the best of luck over here at the Red Devils Disciples. We've also got Fernandez, who was at Getafe on loan, got recalled, and then has been reloaned out to Benfica. The reason for that is Álvaro Fernandez wasn't getting much start time or much game time. I think he had like 5 starts this season so far, and Benfica have said they're going to play him a lot more, so they inquired about him, so we've sent him across the border from Spain to Portugal. I think it's a potentially good move for him. He could learn a lot at Benfica, especially with the style of football that they have and the style of football we want to implement. Hannibal Mejbri has also been loaned out, but it's a loan with a buy option. Now, I actually think this is a good deal. I know a lot of people are looking at it thinking it's one of those where he's someone for the future, but objectively, if they loan him and they decide not to buy him, a player's gained experience. If they do decide to buy him, we are guaranteed 14 million with potential 3 million extra in add-ons. That's 17 million for a player that hasn't quite broken into the first team yet. And every time he's on the pitch, I always feel like there's something missing there. It's not quite up to. I love his attitude. I love his determination. He gets stuck in, isn't scared to dive into tackles, isn't scared to be himself and show his passion for the club. I'm just not sure if he is going to be good enough to make it at Manchester United. Not if we want to be a title competing team. Now, with loaning him out, we've also been smart and we put in a buyback clause in there. I believe the buyback clause is around £30 million, which, let's be honest, if he is successful, is a minimal fee to pay for someone who could potentially be a great player for us. And also, what we do have in there is a 25% sell-on clause. So we're almost, as a deal, it's a very smart deal for us. We could potentially get 17 million from the initial deal. And then if there's a sell-on, we'll get 25% whatever the fee that he sold on for is. And we've also got a buyback clause that if we feel that we want to bring him back, we can bring it back. And this is part of the new strategy that Sir Jim and Ineos are trying to bring in with regards to selling youngsters and giving us more options. Apart from that, we have Jadon Sancho. I mean, where do I start with Jadon Sancho? Great talent. There's no denying that the guy is talented. Great footballer. He just doesn't want it. He's every time he's on the pitch, he looks like he's sort of there, but isn't really there. If rumours and everything is to be believed, his attitude isn't great in training, which is why he was dropped in the first place. Then his responses to the manager, coming late to things, and not just from here. In Dortmund, apparently was late all the time. At Man City, he was let go because of his professionalism, is what I've read. And it just seems like nothing's changed. The rumours were that he's up till 4 a.m. gaming before coming into training the next morning, and unfortunately, as a professional footballer who's on the wages, the extortionate wages that he's on, he's receiving, 350,000 a week? That's ludicrous money. As a footballer, you've got to have a certain level of professionalism, at least if you want to play for a top club like Manchester United. And that's the minimum we expect from you as fans. And I think, unfortunately for him, with this one, yes, there is potentially the option in the future of him coming back to the club and being successful in Dortmund, then comes back, apologises, and is then successful here, or a manager change and he's welcomed back into the squad. As a fan, I don't know if I want to see Jadon Sancho back in our team. He's had plenty of opportunities to swallow his pride, just apologise and get back out on the field when we were desperate for players. And he didn't do it. He didn't just let himself down. He didn't just let the club down. He let us, the fans, down too. So I think my mind is made up with Jadon. I think it's time for him to move on. There is no buy clause in this, but I do think it's a good opportunity for him to get his reputation back up, because his reputation has taken a hit and it is damaged. The fee is minimal. It's like £4 million, which isn't going to really help cover his wages. Dortmund only paying a third of his wages, so it's actually a pretty bad deal for us, but I think it's damage limitation at this point. There is also some additional players that are going out, some youth players like Dango and a couple others, but I'll leave those there for now. If you want to look at them up, you can look them up. A couple of rumours. Daily Telegraph. Okay, Aaron Wan-Bissaka going to Al Nassr for 20 million. Now, how I feel about this is that it would be silly to sell Aaron Wan-Bissaka in the January transfer window. We have had major wing-back problems with Luke Shaw and Malacius out all the time. We've got rid of Reguilón, who's their cover. We've got Diego Dalot, who's been our consistent, but even Aaron Wan-Bissaka himself has, in the last 2 years, had a few injuries. All it takes is 1 or 2 injuries, and we're back to square one of not having wing-backs. So I would not be selling Aaron Wan-Bissaka in January. The only reason I could see them wanting to sell Aaron Wan-Bissaka in January is finances and our financial position that we're in, which I'll cover in a later video. But I think the cons here outweigh the pros. And I do think that we should keep him. And then if you want to sell him in the January transfer window and bring in a replacement, or if you have a youth team player that is ready to replace him, fine, go ahead and do it. But I just don't see anyone that's been brought in that could play right back for us at this point in time. And then the Daily Mail, again, Al Nassr, but this time Casemiro. So it seems like Al Nassr are in for all of our players at the moment. And there's talk that Ronaldo has encouraged Al Nassr to sign Casemiro. Now, from a footballing perspective, it doesn't make sense. From a financial perspective, if you want to let him go, I understand. I would not be letting him go. Casemiro is top drawer. I would be getting that guy back fit, and I would be playing him in our starting 11. We've also just loaned out 2 central midfielders in Hannibal and Van der Beek. We've got Mason Mount, who's injured, and we don't have a scheduled return date yet. And we've got Amrabat, who's currently in AFCON. It doesn't make sense to also get rid of Casemiro. We'd be leaving our midfield very thin. And people have a really short-term memory. Casemiro last year was absolutely incredible. The guy run the midfield. I remember people ranting and raving that he was the best midfielder or amongst the best midfielders in the Prem last year. And now all of a sudden he's lost his legs. This media-driven sort of campaign to say that the guy is done. Well, quite frankly, he's not done. What happened at the start of the year was more of a tactical issue than it was a Casemiro being done issue. He didn't look quite right in terms of fitness and seemed to be carrying something, which was later proven when he did finally get was out of the team. And I think one of those things is I'd love to see Casemiro and Kobbie Mainoo play together side by side. I feel like they would complement each other very well. And imagine the things that Mainoo could learn from a world-class player and a generational talent, let's be honest, like Casemiro, that he could take into the future for himself. So that alone would make me keep him and make him and have him mentor some of our younger midfielders and hopefully result in great progress for them in the future. Now, apart from that, we've also got links with Karim Benzema from everybody under the sun. Look, I'm going to be honest. This isn't going to happen. World-class player back in the day. He's 36 now, so he is getting on. He does have 15 goals in 24 games, so it's worth mentioning that he is scoring, and we could probably use him in a short-term deal. But the astronomical finances involved in this deal just make it not worth it. Like, the guy is on something ridiculous, like 80 million a year, or roughly around that. Like, Al Nassr are not going to say, yeah, sure, go to Man United, we'll cover your wages and don't worry about the fee. They're going to want wages covered, or at least partial wages covered, and they're going to want a fee too. They wouldn't have signed someone like that. They signed him, 6 months ago, half a year ago? They're not going to just let that marquee signing go. They're going to want compensation. And we just don't have that money available to us. So it's just not realistic to think of Karim Benzema. Dream world, yeah, perfect. Reality, not going to happen. I would rather play Højlund and save the money in our war chest for the summer and spend that money in the summer and just get an actual replacement or an actual backup striker or someone that can compete with Højlund for that first team place. Next up, we have some information surrounding Mason Greenwood and possible interest in him. However, this is all paper talk. This is all rumour mill. Fabrizio Romano himself, the GOAT, the guru, the man, has confirmed, or has stated, should I say, and I quote, "At the moment, I'm not aware of any discussions or concrete negotiations with Real Madrid and Barcelona for Greenwood. We see these kind of rumours because he's doing great in La Liga, so many clubs are following his performances." That's to say that at the moment there is nothing to report with regards to that. Obviously, there is information coming out, and there's this talk about Manchester United wanting to raise 100 million so that they can do some sign-ins, and Greenwood's name has been thrown in there. Next up, we have some information surrounding Mason Greenwood and possible interest in him. However, this is all paper talk. This is all rumour mill. Fabrizio Romano himself, the GOAT, the guru, the man, has confirmed, or has stated, should I say, and I quote, "At the moment, I'm not aware of any discussions or concrete negotiations with Real Madrid and Barcelona for Greenwood. We see these kind of rumours because he's doing great in La Liga, so many clubs are following his performances." That's to say that at the moment there is nothing to report with regards to that. Obviously, there is information coming out, and there's this talk about Manchester United wanting to raise 100 million so that they can do some sign-ins, and Greenwood's name has been thrown in there. But as it stands, there is no further information when it comes to Greenwood and Barca or Real Madrid. Let's move on to something a bit more positive now. Start with the negative, should I say. Anthony Martial, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, had successful surgery yesterday, but it does mean that he's out for 10 weeks because of his rehabilitation. So he's added to the injury list of Mount, Malacia, and Lindelof. This does, however, eliminate any chance of us getting any finances for him this January, because there's talks of wanting to sell him. He's out of contract in the summer. Chances are he's going to be leaving on a free. We've already confirmed, or rumour is that we've confirmed that we will not be renewing his contract. So this means that he will just leave on a free in the summer. It's disappointing, but on the one hand, given our current limited finances and what's available for us, it's probably the best option we have right now, because we're not going to bring in someone better than Anthony Martial. Will we bring in someone that's going to be less injured than him? Yes, absolutely. Better than him? Probably not in terms of talent. He is a very talented footballer. He just, can't maintain his fitness, and for whatever reason, just keeps getting injured. And alongside that, we've obviously got Onana and Amrabat at AFCON as well. We wish them the best of luck. Okay, but this does also mean that we have a slightly thinner squad than we normally would. But we do have some good news. Maguire and Shaw have been spotted in training this week. They're back in the team. With rumours are they may be in contention for some sort of role this Sunday for the game that we have against Newport County. Sorry, let me correct myself. But it's one of those where we won't know the status of their fitness until we hear it from the manager in the pre-match press conferences. When that comes out, the pre-match press conference, I'll be sure to give everyone an update with everything. And also, it's rumoured that we'll be giving a debut to Altay Bayendir, the goalkeeper that we signed to be a backup to Onana. In terms of what I know about him is that he was a champion in Turkey. He's come over and his mindset is he wants to challenge for the first team place, but he's also, rumours are that he is not quite up to standard at the moment, which would make sense with the fact that he hasn't replaced Onana with Onana's terrible run that he's had. But it is an opportunity for him, and let's be positive and support the guy, see what we can do in terms of getting on board. You never know. He might go out there and play out of his skin, and all of a sudden we've got a conversation to be had regarding goalkeepers this year. We've also got Martinez coming back. At the end of the day, he played 30 minutes against the game in Spurs, so hopefully we'll have a bigger role in Sunday's game, should he be played. It would be nice to see him out there on the pitch. We've missed him this year. I think he was our midfield, our defensive general last year, and just a team general in general. Yeah, he was our team general last year, and it's one of those situations where I think him coming back can only benefit the team. We've also got Casemiro, who's been in training since just before the new year. Should be there or thereabouts, ready to come back into the first team. I'd love to see him and Maino, like I said before, playing side by side. And we've also got Ahmad, who has been in training this week. And apparently, the rumour is there's some really impressive reports coming out of training this week. So could he be given an opportunity on the right wing? Now, moving on to some club news. Omar Berrada has been announced as our new CEO. Now, this is big news for us. Now, we may not have transfers coming in terms of players, but I guarantee you this is a game changer for us. Who is he? So his first notable job in football was his job in Barcelona, where he was head of sponsorships for 7 years. He was then snatched up by Man City, and the roles there were head of international business, business development, followed by director of partnership sales, senior VP, group commercial director, and then for the last 3 years, more importantly, he's been the COO of Manchester City Football Club. Now, this shows how valued he was by Manchester City. And then to top it off, about 3 years ago, he was made the CEO of the City Football Group, which involves the 13 teams sponsored by the City Football Group, including Manchester City. Now, to put this in a different way, this is one of the top guys out there in world football to run a football club. We have just snatched someone along the lines of a Kevin De Bruyne from Manchester City. Okay, and he's going to come into Man United with a point to prove, because if he's walking away from Manchester City and everything that City group have given him, he's coming here to prove a point. He's coming here to build a legacy with us. We've also got Sir Dave Brailsford in his position within the Ineos Grenadiers. He is someone who brings a wealth of experience in different sports, in terms of the sporting world and the business side of it. He led Team Sky to 6 Tour de France's in 7 years. Team Sky obviously became Team Ineos with a change in sponsorship. In 2021, he was appointed the director of sport, overseeing the growing number of like sports in different disciplines, or teams in different disciplines, should I say, and that includes Nice in Ligue 1. He brings a wealth of real-world transferable experience that can only help us. And let's be honest, he's not going to be there to run the day-to-day operations. He's going to be a guy that sits in the background when it comes to the big decision-making meetings. He'll be there. He'll give us advice. He'll give his input, his 2 cents, and then we'll kind of disappear off into the background again. I don't expect him to be at the forefront of Man United. So like potentially we will have from Omar Berrada. As well as that, we've also got multiple sites reporting that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's and Ineos team's influence on the club is about to become larger, and the report itself is where the Glazers have agreed that they should have more input with regards to the decision making across the board of the business, which can only be good news. On the one hand, look, we all know how we feel about the Glazers. I'm not going to go into it again at this point. I will make a video about it at some point. The Glazers' money has never been the issue. They've always been willing to pump, or to spend money, should I say, not pump money, because they've never pumped money into the club, but they have always been willing to spend money. The issue is how they've gone about it and who they've put in the positions to spend that money, and it's been done unwisely. With Ineos coming in and Sir Jim coming in, that's going to change. You just have to look at the way they're conducting themselves at the moment. Just even talking about their transfer policy when it comes to the youth, it's changed already. You know, previously we were letting players go on the cheap or on free, players that we could have got some funds for, but we didn't. Now, players that we potentially shouldn't be getting funds for, we're getting deals with sell-on clauses, with, you know, and a few bits and pieces in there if they achieve themselves. Again, it's still early days, still a lot to find out in terms of what's going to happen going forward. But it's exciting times as a Man United fan, especially after the last decade, where we have had very little to cheer for. We had a couple cups here and there, but not to the standard that we're used to as Man United fans. So they have already come out stating that the main focus for them is to get Manchester United back to winning ways, winning trophies, winning leagues, and back to being the dominant force in England. So again, exciting times, guys. I'll be posting another video soon. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and to turn on notifications so you can find out whenever I drop a video. Speak to you soon.